A young entrepreneur named Ria sits in a small cafe, staring at her laptop. Her dream is to build her own business, but her ideas seem scattered. She's trying everything, working long hours, attending motivational workshops, even listening to success podcasts. But still, nothing changes. One day, she meets an old mentor, Mr. Dave, who listens to her story and smiles. He says, "Ria, you are doing everything except thinking the right way. Success doesn't start with hard work. It starts with the way you think. Change your thinking and you'll change your life." That simple sentence changed everything for her, because it's the foundation of John C. Maxwell's timeless book, How Successful People Think. This book teaches us that the biggest difference between successful and unsuccessful people isn't intelligence, background, or luck. It's their thinking patterns, how they approach problems, decisions, and opportunities. So today, in this summary, we'll uncover the core thinking habits that define successful people and how you can start developing them right now. Welcome to Audiobooks by Alexa, where wisdom from the world's best books meets your personal growth journey. Chapter 1: The Power of Thinking. John Maxwell begins with a simple truth: everything begins with a thought. Before every invention, discovery, or breakthrough, there was a moment of deep thinking. Successful people don't just act, they think before they act. They dedicate time to analyze, plan, and reflect. Unsuccessful people, on the other hand, often rush into action, mistaking movement for progress. Maxwell says, "Good thinkers are always in demand. A person who knows how may always have a job, but the person who knows why will always be the boss." So if you want to lead, grow, and influence, you must first master the art of thinking deliberately. But how exactly do successful people think? Maxwell identifies 11 key thinking skills, and each one is like a mental muscle that can be trained and developed. Let's explore them one by one, starting with the foundation. 1. Big picture thinking. Big picture thinkers look beyond their immediate surroundings. They don't get stuck in daily problems. They see the broader landscape. Think of Elon Musk. While most people worry about next month's bills, he's thinking about colonizing Mars. That's big picture thinking. John Maxwell explains that big picture thinkers don't let small setbacks distract them. Look for patterns, not just isolated events. Think long-term, beyond today's emotions or fears. To practice big picture thinking, Maxwell suggests: talk to people who see the world differently. Travel, read widely, and expose yourself to new ideas. Ask yourself often, how does this decision affect the future? Successful people keep their focus on possibilities, not problems. 2. Focused thinking. While big picture thinking is about seeing the whole forest, focused thinking is about studying one tree at a time. In our distracted world, this is becoming rare. People multitask, jump from idea to idea, and rarely go deep. But Maxwell says true achievement comes when you channel your energy into one meaningful goal. He writes, "You will never reach your full potential if you scatter your focus." Successful people focus on the things that give the highest return. Here's how to develop focused thinking. Identify what truly matters to you. Block out time every day for deep, uninterrupted work. Remove distractions, turn off notifications, close extra tabs, and give your full attention to one task. Focused thinking multiplies your results. You don't need more hours, you just need more focus within the hours you already have. 3. Creative thinking. Every great success story has creativity at its core. Creative thinking is about seeing possibilities where others see limitations. Maxwell believes creativity isn't limited to artists or inventors. Anyone can be creative if they learn to ask the right questions. He writes, "The value of creative thinking is that it allows you to find better answers. The more creative you are, the fewer limitations you'll have." To spark creativity, ask what if questions. Allow yourself to dream without judgment. Combine unrelated ideas. That's often where innovation is born. One simple technique is idea stacking. Write down one idea every day, no matter how small. Over time, these small ideas connect into big ones. Remember, creativity isn't magic, it's a habit. 4. Realistic thinking. Now, let's balance that creativity with realistic thinking. Maxwell says successful people don't just dream, they plan practically. They don't let optimism blind them to potential obstacles. He explains, realistic thinking gives you a foundation to build upon. It helps you minimize risks while maximizing results. It's not about being negative, it's about being prepared. Realistic thinkers gather all the facts before deciding. Identify potential problems early. Plan solutions before challenges appear. As Maxwell puts it, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. That's how successful people turn dreams into achievable goals. 5. Strategic thinking. Think of a chess player, always planning 3 moves ahead. That's what strategic thinking is about. John Maxwell writes that strategy bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Strategic thinkers break down complex goals into manageable steps. Use time, energy, and resources efficiently. Always ask, what's the best use of my effort right now? For example, instead of doing everything, they prioritize what truly matters. They know that success isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. To apply strategic thinking in your life, define your main goal clearly. Create a step-by-step plan. Regularly review and adjust your strategy based on results. Strategic thinkers turn vision into reality, one planned step at a time. 6. Possibility thinking. While realistic thinking grounds you, possibility thinking lifts you. It's the mindset that asks, what if it's possible? Every innovation in history began with someone refusing to say, it can't be done. Maxwell says, if you believe something can be done, your mind will find the way. Belief releases creativity, energy, and initiative. Possibility thinkers stay positive even when facing challenges. Look for opportunities in obstacles. Refuse to let fear limit their imagination. To become a possibility thinker, start catching yourself when you say, I can't. Replace it with, how can I? That small change rewires your mind for solutions instead of excuses. 7. Reflective thinking. One of the most overlooked habits of successful people is reflection. In our fast-paced world, we rarely stop to think about what we've learned. But Maxwell emphasizes, experience alone doesn't make you better. Evaluated experience does. Reflective thinking means reviewing your day, your work, and your decisions, not with guilt, but with curiosity. Ask yourself, what worked today? What didn't work, and why? What can I learn for next time? Many leaders, from Warren Buffett to Bill Gates, spend hours each week just thinking quietly. That's not laziness, that's strategy. Reflection turns daily experiences into lifelong wisdom. 8. Question-based thinking. Curiosity fuels success. Maxwell reminds us that the quality of our questions determines the quality of our answers. Successful people constantly ask questions like, why do we do it this way? Is there a better option? What's missing that could make this great? Asking powerful questions keeps your mind sharp, flexible, and open. One of Maxwell's best tips is to keep a thinking journal. Write down one question each day and brainstorm answers. Over time, you'll train your brain to think more deeply and originally. So, let's pause and reflect on what we've learned so far. In How Successful People Think, John C. Maxwell teaches us that success is not a mystery, it's a mindset. It begins with mastering how we think. We explored these powerful types of thinking: big picture thinking, focused thinking, creative thinking, realistic thinking, strategic thinking, possibility thinking, reflective thinking, question-based thinking. These are the mental tools that successful people use to shape their world. They don't just live life, they design it through intentional thinking. We'll continue our journey into the remaining thinking patterns that Maxwell calls the final pillars of successful thought. These mindsets not only sharpen your intelligence, they elevate your influence, relationships, and leadership. So, grab your headphones and let's dive deeper into the mind of success. 9. Shared thinking, the power of collaboration. Picture this. Thomas Edison was once asked how it felt to be such a genius. He laughed and replied, "I'm not a genius, I just surround myself with great minds." That's shared thinking in action. John Maxwell explains that successful people understand one truth: no one is smarter than everyone. They don't try to solve everything alone. Instead, they build a network of thinkers, people who bring different experiences, perspectives, and strengths to the table. Maxwell says, "We can accomplish more together than we ever can alone." Shared thinking enlarges the mind and multiplies possibilities. Shared thinkers listen more than they talk. Value others' insights. Don't compete, they collaborate. If you want to practice shared thinking, surround yourself with people who challenge your ideas. Don't be afraid to say, "I don't know, what do you think?" Value diverse opinions, even when they differ from yours. Remember, great leaders build teams, not echo chambers. 10. Unselfish thinking, the heart of leadership. Next comes one of the most transformative habits: unselfish thinking. Maxwell says successful people think beyond themselves. They ask, "How can I add value to others?" rather than, "What's in it for me?" Unselfish thinking builds trust, loyalty, and long-term impact. It's the difference between short-term fame and lasting legacy. He writes, "People who think unselfishly experience greater fulfillment. The more you give, the more you receive." Unselfish thinkers share credit instead of seeking attention. Mentor others without expecting anything in return. Contribute to causes that make a difference. It might sound idealistic, but in business, leadership, or relationships, unselfish thinking attracts respect and cooperation. When you help others rise, you rise too. 11. Bottom line thinking, the art of results. After all the creativity, strategy, and collaboration, Maxwell brings us to the final mindset: bottom line thinking. This is the ability to focus on what truly matters, the results. Successful people don't get lost in busyness or perfectionism. They measure success by outcomes. He writes, "The greatest mistake you can make is to be busy and not productive." Bottom line thinking brings clarity and direction. In simple terms, it's about asking, what's the goal? What's the result I'm aiming for? Are my actions moving me closer to it? Bottom line thinkers are practical, efficient, and grounded. They constantly evaluate, is this working? If not, they adjust and move forward without ego. To apply this in your life, define success clearly for every project. Track your progress regularly. Celebrate wins, but also learn from what didn't work. As Maxwell says, good thinking creates good results, but only if you stay focused on the outcome. Putting it all together, the thinking transformation. At this point, let's step back and look at the big picture. John C. Maxwell's message throughout the book is clear. Why try pointing backhand index? Success isn't about what you have, it's about how you think. He identifies 11 thinking styles that anyone can develop. Big picture thinking, see beyond your immediate world. Focused thinking, channel energy where it matters most. Creative thinking, find new ways to solve old problems. Realistic thinking, ground your dreams in practical steps. Strategic thinking, plan your path toward your goal. Possibility thinking, believe that great things can happen. Reflective thinking, learn from experience. Question-based thinking, stay curious and open. Shared thinking, collaborate for greater ideas. Unselfish thinking, add value to others. Bottom-line thinking, focus on results that matter. Each type of thinking serves as a building block for success. Together, they shape how leaders, creators, and achievers move through life. Maxwell doesn't just teach us what to think, he teaches us how to think effectively. The hidden habit behind all great thinkers. There's one more insight Maxwell shares, and it's something few people notice. He says that successful people don't wait for thinking time to appear, they schedule it. They deliberately create space for deep thought. In other words, thinking is not an accident, it's an appointment. Warren Buffett spends 80% of his day reading and thinking. Bill Gates takes think weeks to isolate himself and reflect. Even Maxwell himself blocks time daily just to think. You can start small, maybe 15 minutes a day. Find a quiet spot, shut out distractions, and reflect on your goals, challenges, and ideas. That's how you build the muscle of great thinking. Why most people never think deeply. John Maxwell also points out a truth that's uncomfortable but important. Most people never learn how to think deeply because they confuse activity with progress. They fear being wrong. They let emotions or ego cloud judgment. But once you break free from that cycle and start thinking intentionally, you begin to see patterns others miss. You make better decisions. You react less and create more. In short, your mind becomes your greatest asset. The ripple effect of better thinking. When you improve your thinking, every part of your life improves. Your career, because you make smarter moves. Your relationships, because you understand others better. Your confidence, because your thoughts become your foundation, not your fear. Maxwell says, if you want to change your world, change the way you think. Because what you think determines who you are, and who you are determines what you do. This means success doesn't start with action, it starts with awareness. Action plan, how to apply the lessons. Let's turn this wisdom into practice. Here's a simple 3-step action plan inspired by the book. Step 1. Identify your dominant thinking style. Ask yourself, which of Maxwell's thinking types comes most naturally to you? Are you creative but struggle with focus? Are you strategic but resist new ideas? Knowing your default style is the first step toward balance. Step 2. Schedule thinking time daily. Set aside 15 to 30 minutes a day to think intentionally. Use that time to reflect, brainstorm, or analyze decisions. Write down your thoughts. Journaling sharpens clarity. Step 3. Surround yourself with great thinkers. As Maxwell says, if you want to think better, spend time with better thinkers. Listen to podcasts, read books, join discussions, or simply observe how successful people make decisions. You don't rise to your goals, you rise to your level of thinking. A short story to end with. Let's return to Ria, the young entrepreneur we met. After learning about Maxwell's principles, she began changing how she thought. Every morning, she would spend 20 minutes thinking, not working, just thinking. She started journaling her reflections, asking better questions, and discussing ideas with mentors. Within a year, her small cafe business transformed into a thriving online brand. Her biggest realization? It wasn't luck or talent, it was her thinking that changed her destiny. And that's exactly what John C. Maxwell wants us all to understand. You don't need a different life to succeed. You need a different way of thinking about life. Thank you for listening to this summary of How Successful People Think by John C. Maxwell, brought to you by Audiobooks by Alexa. If this inspired you, remember, the next time you face a challenge, don't just react. Think. Ask yourself, what would a successful thinker do right now? And then, do that. Because your mind is your most powerful tool, and success begins in your thoughts.